will be taking the analysis during this special live transmission regarding to the various aspects that have been put forth to the world community as well as before the nation by Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister Haider and DGI SPR Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry. Also, another development, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has received the call from US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Prime Minister has appreciated President Donald Trump's concern regarding the situation that is prevalent in the region. And Secretary Rubio went on to say that the US is committed to promote regional peace and stability, and Prime Minister has briefed him in detail regarding as to Indian aggression and what sort of a sentiment is prevalent here as far as Pakistani nation is concerned. We had earlier seen President Donald Trump had said, let me quote, specifically referring to Pakistan and India, the tensions as we see they are unfolding because of India's aggression, naked and blatant aggression, which is against the international norms, the UN Charter and international law. President Trump had to say they have gone tit for tat, so hopefully they can stop now, willing to step in and assist if needed. I want to see it stop and I can do anything to help. I'll be there, unquote. There are a number of other developments which we will be taking up for discussion during today's special live transmission. For that, we are honored to be joined in the studio by Mr. Air Commodore Raza Haider, retired. He is Sitare Imtiaz Military, is the defense analyst. Commodore Haider, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on this very special live transmission. Really appreciate that. On video link, we are honored to be joined by Brigadier retired Rashid WaliJanjua, senior analyst. Brigadier Janjua, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the special live transmission. Really appreciate that. Quickly coming to this particular, another big success when it comes to the preparedness, the vigilance, the determination. The Pakistan Armed Forces are facing the enemy's aggression. The neutralization of these 29 drones. Of course, this is another step on the pretext of a concocted story that Pakistan hit 15 different places in India, which is of course a concocted story because India doesn't come up with any sort of an evidence. It's only the blame game and the pattern continues to be repeated. Pakistan neutralized 29 drones. What is this drone technology? What are their types? And we've also seen that statement through soft kill and through hard kill, how they were neutralized.
Tehami Sahab, India is continuously doing the irrational and irresponsible act since yesterday and got a very befitting response from Pakistan. Yesterday it killed civilians, children, women, masajids, dam, and today again another irresponsible acts of drone attacks. Your question that what are these drones and how they are to be controlled. You see, we have seen yesterday the drone which was shot by Pakistan Air Force was Heron and today is Harop. So what are these drones? What these are types? Yesterday, the one which was Heron used yesterday was UCAV, Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle. If we categorize the drones, they are in the 4 categories. Initially, it was used to be known as RPVs, Remote Pilot Vehicle. Commonly, the drone is a thing which is flying in air without a pilot. Right. So, Remote Pilot Vehicle then used to be known as Unmanned Aerial Vehicle, which is only having the camera for intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, ISR. Then comes the UCAV, Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle. Once the weapon is installed on the UAV, it is known as Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle. So, Heron, which was yesterday used, was Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle. And definitely it was making videos of the locations where they were supposed to hit the targets. Then comes the killer drones, the next category, which is actually the Harop, which is used extensively by Indians today, and those were destroyed by Pakistan. Killer drone or a kamikaze drone or a suicidal drone, or these are the same names. These are actually the special type of drones which is having the explosive inside the drone, having the camera inside, and it has to hit the target itself and destroy the target. So this one, Heron, which was used yesterday and the today one, both are made by Israel. Both have different ranges. This Harop, which is used today, is having a range of around 200 kilometers, around 9 hours of endurance. And if it is used in a formation form, it is known as a swarm drone. Swarm drone is another category. When these drones, the killer drones, are used in the multiple quantity, for example in 50s or 100s, these are then used, known as swarm drones, like a swarm we have. And that is also very, very difficult to defend. But Alhamdulillah, as you have seen in the statement of the ISPR, that we have stopped or damaged or destroyed 29 drones. Only the one could manage to escape. So this is a big achievement of the Pakistan. And coming to the soft and hard kill, as you also asked about that. The soft kill is by jamming the communication of that drone is the soft kill. And by physically hitting that drone as a kinetic operation, that is the hard kill. And Pakistan uses both the technologies for this purpose.
This is a particular method that has been referred and alluded to by Information Minister as well, through jamming technology and air defense system.
Yes, jamming the technology is a soft kill, and physically hitting the drone is a hard kill.
Right.
Now coming the second part of your question, the targets, about the targets. Yes, the drones can be given the targets through mainly three techniques. The one is a remote pilot is controlling that drone, and he is sitting somewhere in close to the Indian border, and then just seeing through the video the target and then hitting that harop on that one. The second one is by giving the GPS coordinates of that location. And in both the cases you can see the human is in the loop. But in the third category, which is very dangerous, human is out of the loop, and that is the autonomous drone. In that case, command is given to the drone, and it is now free to go, and it is going to hit the target which is already now feeded into that. For example, I will give you an example. If some picture of some house is given or feeded, image recognition is given to that drone, now that drone is going to hit that house in spite of the fact that children are playing on the floor of that house. It will not see the children, it will hit out. So that is very dangerous, and it has strong international humanitarian laws impact also. So whatever the India is doing today, it is against the IHL. They are crossing the border, this is number one. They are killing the civilians, they are killing the children, the women, they are creating the chaos also. So this is probably, they could not have a complete use of their technologies yesterday, because the Rafale technology got
I'll come to that particular point. Let me bring in Brigadier Janjua into the discussion also. Brigadier Janjua, now in this particular presser, DJI SPR gave the updates that 29 drones have so far been neutralized. Quite a detailed view has been given by Commodore Haider regarding as to how the targets are set, how these drones are actually used, what could be the threat. Pakistan successfully neutralizing 29 out of these drones. Now DJI SPR also said, let me quote, how to engage a slow moving target. There are methods to that, whether it is flying over some urban area, or what sort of a method should be employed in order to neutralize that. But the end result is the 29 have been downed. How are you looking at this particular development and sending of these drones? What does that depict? Is it the panic the Indian authorities and the forces have started feeling after their 5 jets were downed?
No, it's not panic. I think it is chutzpah, which is a shameful audacity. It's a Hebrew word which denotes shameful audacity. It is that sense of, war hysteria that has gripped the entire leadership, that is leading to these major escalatory steps. Now these fire and forget, kamikaze, loitering munitions, I mean, whatever category you may like to assign them, this was a hunter-killer design, drone. And I think I would like to correct a bit. Its range, to my knowledge, is 1,000 kilometers. This is a Harop hunter-killer, and one of it has been shot down in Rawalpindi as well. 29 is a very good bag, and the important thing is that how and why India felt emboldened to go one step up the escalation ladder, even after Pakistan's very measured, very responsible response. Pakistan just responded in self-defense. They launched their missiles, and those missiles, surface to surface, came against Pakistani civilian targets in contravention to international humanitarian law and places of worship. Now, that was a major escalatory step. It was, to my reckoning, crossing of the nuclear Rubicon. And the deterrence lay shattered, because deterrence is that you stop your adversary because he has to pay a bigger cost, and that is what dissuades it from attacking. Now, I don't know why they were so emboldened that they launched those attacks, and Pakistan did not respond and only went airborne in order to defend its space. And hats off to our Air Force. They saw the Indian intentions and their airborne aircraft formations, which were poised to attack Pakistan. So, had Pakistan not attacked them in BVR mode, there would have been some casualties, and the Indians would have been further emboldened. That timely, measured, precise, highly professional response from Pakistan Air Force, about which the entire world is now speaking. That look, the much wanted Rafale, upon which Indians invested so much, has come a cropper in the first engagement. And Pakistan Air Force's, capability is not only in platforms. It is in the missile range. It is in its AEW. It is in its integration with its air defense and the radars and the data link fusion. It's a whole package. And then there is training, and then there is courage. So there's whole panoply that Pakistan Air Force employed, which showed it's a highly trained, motivated, lethal force, which came up and treated Indians the way they needed to be treated. Because once you don't counter a bully, the bully, like a bull in the China shop, moves on and on. And now the next step in the escalation ladder, I guess, would be a response by Pakistan in this missile domain. And if that happens, it remains to be seen what India does next, how it reacts, whether it goes one up on the escalation ladder again, like an irresponsible state, or it resorts to de-escalation, because de-escalation is the need of the hour. Both are nuclear countries, and the nuclear war is unthinkable. Now, we need international community's response to mediate and ensure that this warmongering rhetoric by India is toned down. India sees the errant nature of its ways, and Pakistan and India are brought back from this brink of nuclear Armageddon, and they both start talking and resolving their issues through negotiations, about which Pakistan has already.
Brigadier Janjua, on that particular front, we have also seen the statement coming from President Donald Trump. A short while ago, we saw Secretary of State of the United States of America making a phone call to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. We've also seen those very strong-worded statements that have come forth from Turkey, Azerbaijan. We've also seen Iran's foreign minister making a visit to Pakistan. He's in New Delhi now, and he has repeated calls for restraint from all the sides, and also go for dialogue in order to resolve this particular crisis. I'll come back to you also. And one aspect you've already mentioned in your take is that what is going to be Pakistan's response. We have seen the National Security Committee has authorized the Pakistan Armed Forces duly in order to give a befitting response to Indian aggression. I'll come back to you for that particular point to be discussed in detail. Commodore Haider, now when we talk about, there's a very important point made by DGISPR in his latest presser as well, that India came with the time, the place and the manner of its choosing, and despite that, Pakistan Air Force, the Pakistan Armed Forces were successfully able to shoot down their 5 jets. Talking about that vigilance and that very preparedness and the skill set the Pakistan Air Force carries with itself, could you shed a bit of light how that particular maneuver could be achieved?
Yeah, Tehami is a very good question. Pakistan Air Force is a cutting edge force composed of a high-tech equipment and a very trained manpower and the visionary leadership. And we all take pride in it. And like always, like 2019 and like yesterday, We are all proud of Pakistan Air Force, and particularly I feel proud in being part of the Pakistan Air Force. Coming to the yesterday's episode, encountering Rafale and other package of the Indian Air Force was vis-a-vis the Pakistan Air Force. What I see, the three main elements which Pakistan Air Force uses, and these are the strengths of Pakistan Air Force as well. The number one, mosaic, or you can say the multi-domain operations. Multi-domain operations are those where we use the different assets and tools and technologies all together to make a single concentrated force. For example, we have a very high-tech equipment like JF-17 Block 3 Thunder, J-10C, F-16, Mirages, then drones, then cyber, satellites, all this combined together. It's a multi-domain operation against an enemy, and then wiping out that enemy, 5 aircraft. The second is we have the first shot capability, and this is mentioned by the DGISPR also. First shot capability means that we have the missile ranges, the BVRs, whose ranges are more than the Indian BVR ranges. So we have a first shot capability, and that is, you can say, it's a planning of Pakistan Air Force that they planned the BVRs in a way that can be used in such a time.
Right.
And third is probably the most important element and strength of Pakistan Air Force, which was depicted yesterday also, is the training. The pilots training, the engineers training, the Pakistan Air Force people's training, supported by the morale, motivation and the leadership. We have the air chief who has a vision, who has planned the things and did the procurement indigenization in a way that can have a multi-domain operation impact. So all these things together had made those 5 aircraft that included 3 Rafales also, which are the high-tech aircraft. And in my opinion, probably Rafale is a high-tech equipment. There is no doubt in it. It's a very good aircraft, 4.5 Gen aircraft. But probably the Indian Air Force lacked that training or that professionalism which is required to operate that aircraft effectively.
Right, Brigadier Janjua. Now, when we talk, we already mentioned of it would be interesting to say what's going to be the next step and how Pakistan is going to respond. The National Security Committee has authorized the Armed Forces of Pakistan to take the corresponding actions in this regard. We have seen Information Minister Ataullah Tar saying Pakistan's reply will be unforgettable and serve as a lesson for the world. Short while ago, the DGISPR also said that when Pakistan will strike, we won't need Indian media. The whole world will know. It will be visible. How are you looking at these statements and that authorization by the NSC?
You see, in the deterrence domain, if we have to restore our deterrence, we have to display our capability and intent. And capability and intent are not shown in the shadows. This will have to be displayed, and Pakistan will not shrink away from owning that thing when that happens. Pakistan reserves the right to choose the time and place of its own choice. And where it goes, how it happens, we should not speculate at this point of time due to security reasons. But rest assured that it will be very potent, and it would be commensurate to the needs of the deterrence that needs to be established. Like the loitering munitions that they sent across our frontier to target most probably our air defense radiation emitting radars, because they got lashed on to one of the radiation emitting radars. And likewise, who knows where our response goes. So let's the guessing game begin for the Indians. But I'm more worried about what happens next. So far, Pakistan has bested India in all 3 dimensions. Air Force has come up trumps. Pakistan Army has produced prodigies of valor on line of control. They have destroyed 2 Indian brigade headquarters, including a very substantial damage in Uri. 40 of their soldiers have been killed, which they are not owning up. And around 40 posts have been abandoned because of the effective fire. So that takes some doing, which shows that on land, in air, and in cyber domain also, We are doing very well on media, on diplomatic domains. The entire nation is working as a well-oiled team, and now we are all united. That there's a need, however, to study the next step as to what will happen once our response goes, how well configured our air defenses are to take the onslaught of the next escalatory step which the Indians take. And would that instill a kind of a spiral in the nuclear escalatory ladder? That is something that we need to mull over, and that is what the international community needs to mull over. And you mentioned uh, the words of support from the international community, but those are all voices of sanity, and we welcome those voices. But the actual uh, thing that has to be done is at the Security Council level. To me, an emergency session of Security Council should be convened if the world community is serious to prevent a nuclear Armageddon. And in that, our P5 allies like China, even Russia, and I should say United States, if it wishes to prevent this nuclear catastrophe, which might have its rollover impact upon rest of the world and the rest of the continents other than Asia. This needs to be done, and both and UN Security Council, as you know, passes binding resolutions. So that binding resolution should be for immediate ceasefire, followed by negotiations. Both countries should come on a negotiating table to resolve their issues, lay bare their grievances, and try and resolve their dispute or their concerns through mutual negotiations. So that's the way to go for international community if the international community is serious. But if it acts the same way that it acted in Gaza, Ukraine, where despite blatant violation of international law and international humanitarian law, neither Security Council, nor General Assembly, nor International Court of Justice, despite their very clear, explicit, binding judgments, could do anything. So I think this is the test of international community as much as it is test of our patience and our own
I
fortitude.
get your point.
We are in a very difficult situation.
Right, I get your point. Brigadier Janjua, I'll come back to you. We're now joined by Mr. G.R. Baloch, former ambassador, on the phone line. Mr. Baloch, thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif received a phone call from Secretary of State of the United States of America, Marco Rubio, and has also given him an understanding of how the situation post-Indian aggression, naked and blatant aggression against Pakistan, especially targeting the civilian population. How are you looking the efforts when you talk about the major players in the world so far? As far as President Trump is concerned, we have seen statements coming from the other major players as well to de-escalate the situation.
Thank you, Khalid. Basically, I think the world has, from the day we saw India initiating its aggressive war, which is imposed on Pakistan, they condemned in many, many words. They rejected any aggression against a neighbor on a flimsy excuse. And I think it has been a grave strategic miscalculation by India, which India will regret for many years to come. Engaging in a war, in a kinetic war, that before that was a proxy war, was a narrative war, but this is something which I think for which India has definitely miscalculated the world's reaction. It has miscalculated the resolve of the people of Pakistan, and most of all, it has miscalculated the competence and professionalism of Pakistan's military and armed force. As proven, the first in 1 hour of air battle, which is being reported now as one of the longest battles in the recent history in the air. And look at the result: 5 of their planes goes down, including their pride Rafale. Also, the news of their low morale, resignations of their top operational commanding officers in the Air Force and the Army. That all shows the crack in the edifice. I think there's a whole gap between what Modi's fascist regime wants to achieve and what the professionals also, which might be tiny maybe, but there is still some professionals which are still there in the Indian institutions. They stand far apart. That's why we see these cracks. We see these irrational continuation of a war which definitely India cannot win, for sure. Yes, it will damage the region, it will damage the peace in the world.
A war India definitely can't win. Mr. G.R. Baloch, former ambassador, joining us on the phone line. Thank you very much for being with us at this special live transmission. In the studio, we were joined by Mr. Air Commodore Raza, Haider, a retired defense analyst. Air Commodore, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on this special live transmission. On the video link, we were joined by Brigadier retired Rashid WaliJanjua. Brigadier Janjua, thank you very much for your time also for being with us on this special live transmission. We really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of this particular segment. After this particular short break, you'll be able to watch the news headlines. And after that, this particular segment, the transmission will continue from there.